Welcome back into the LOC transfer room. I'm Jack, joined today by Ben. Ben, it's a win. It's a post-match. How are you feeling?
Yeah, good. So good emotions, obviously. I mean, it's nice to be in the top four because we haven't really been in it in 2021, have we? So it's nice to be there.
First time since I believe it was February that we're back in the top four. It's a huge win overall. Let us know in the comments your thoughts on that match. One of the most emphatic in recent weeks. Biggest margin of victory since 3-0 against Arsenal on April 3rd. So, Ben, we're going to talk about it for a while here now, but your man of the match, your thoughts on the match and how Liverpool played overall.
I'd say it has to be Nat Phillips for that goal and just for heading every single ball that came into our box. Nat Phillips for sure is man of the match. You know, I think it's a perfect result for us. It's everything we wanted. We wanted to get lots of goals, increase our advantage on Leicester's goal difference. We did that, and I thought it was a really good performance. I've seen loads of good improvements in the past few weeks in our performance. The way the midfield is kind of shaping up, especially with Thiago in it, he's really settling into life in England, which is a major positive.
Yeah, it definitely was. Phillips, I think the beginning of the match was just a painful watch. Seeing Williams and Phillips at the back was not pleasant viewing, trying to play out from the back. But he came back. And we'll stick on Phillips. Pulling was coming from Blackhammer. I mean, he's I don't want to say Paolo Maldini reborn, but I mean, it does have a future at Liverpool for you, Ben, because it's tough for me. I go back and forth on it all the time.
It's a tough one. He looks so unorthodox on the ball, but he does everything really well. Like he can't fault. He hasn't put a foot wrong. He doesn't really make mistakes. He was covering for Reece Williams today, and he played a senior role at the back, and he did it to distinction. You can't fault the man. So it's a tough one. You know, obviously there are deficiencies in his game, in terms of pace. You know, maybe not as good defensively when it's on the floor, but as a fourth choice centre back alongside Van Dijk, I mean, you can't have any better really. And I don't know, it's a tough one, like, especially because it's going to be a tight market with the summer transfer window. There's not going to be that much money available for us, so we'd be saving a lot of money by just keeping him in.
If it comes down to Kabak versus him, who are you picking? 18 million pounds for Kabak versus 10 million for Phillips.
Well, not really 10-3 for Phillips.
Oh, I mean, you'd have to offload him, so it'd be like an £8 million net for Kabak versus you just keep Phillips. Don't buy Kabak, you buy Kabak too. That I think is one of the big debates for the summer.
I wouldn't. If we're getting Konate, I would be cynical and not get Kabak. For me, he's definitely a talented centre back, but right now, if we have Phillips and Gomez and Van Dijk coming in, plus we're getting Konate, do we really need Kabak? I think it's a luxury signing, and it's a luxury signing we can't really afford at the moment, so we have to be cynical.
Yeah, I mean, in a normal year, I think 18 million pounds for a player like Kabak would be almost a no-brainer. It'd be a very smart transfer. But yeah, I mean, it's also this is another interesting element is that next year when Van Dijk, Matip, Gomez are back, Konate may be coming in. He's not going to get much game time, so he may want to go out. But we'll talk about Phillips later on. We'll talk about the bigger picture. I think here. You mentioned that this was the near-on perfect result, and I mean I fully agree with you because we're level with points on Leicester with the win, 4 better goal difference. It was I don't know. It's maybe that question, but was there a better possible performance from Liverpool? Because it seemed like, considering the players that were available and the issues we've had in the last few weeks, this was just as near-on perfect as we've been in a long time.
Yeah, I'd agree. Obviously, there were a few times they got behind our defence with Reece Williams. He looked a bit shaky at times. But apart from that, I think we handled this Burnley challenge really well. Even with the fans, I feel like it's kind of underappreciated how difficult it was in the second half. all their fans cheering them on for two very inexperienced centre backs, and they dealt with it really well. If anything, it was Andy Robertson. He did kind of a rash challenge, which I was sweating about, considering VAR when he pushed.
Was it Wood, right?
Yeah, I think it was Wood over in the box. I was like, in this day and age, that could have easily been given, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, Reece Williams needs a lot more development. Nat Phillips is obviously not the finished product either.
It kind of reminds me of when Nat Phillips was coming into the team initially. It just needs some time to get used to this senior football, and I think a loan out will benefit him greatly with the experience he has. Now, if he were to go to a championship side, he'd be well prepared for it, I think.
This is kind of a stunning stat to me. It's nearing on 2 months, 1-7 drawn 2. It doesn't feel like it, honestly, considering how hurting the Leeds and Newcastle draws were. But this is one of the best runs of the season, and it's coming at a great time, but it doesn't feel like it to me.
In terms of the form table, we're top. So it's the perfect way to end the season.
Top of the form table.
It reminds me of a bit, if we get top 4, it reminds me a bit of City's run last year. Obviously not as good as City's run last year, and City's run they've lost a couple of games, but it hasn't been as bad. I mean, it's kind of their run is kind of similar to our run after we won the league, I'd say, and our run is almost as good as theirs leading up to the end of the season. So what I'm saying is, next year we'll wait and see. With City losing to Brighton and Chelsea and all that, so it's encouraging times for us, I'd say. You want to end the season on a high. It'll be good vibes if we get top 4. I mean, let's be honest. Crystal Palace, Roy Hodgson's last game in management. There's still going to be a lot riding on that game, and we still have to come through that hurdle.
Yeah.
But
I want to pull this in from Black Hammer as well. I'll get to that in a second, Maddie, before you throw me off completely. This is almost a successful season.
I'd like to remind you of it, Jack. You said you would run naked around the streets of your local area if Liverpool get top 4.
No. This. All right, the stream is being I'm gonna just say it's Photoshop. Until I see further evidence otherwise, I'm just not gonna. I'm not.
Unfortunately, we can't share screenshots around here, but
this will not be on the YouTube channel. That will be on the LFC Transfer Room OnlyFans. $5 to sign up. You know what? That's a good point, Chuck. I appreciate you watching out for me, trying to make sure I don't catch a case, just celebrating my pure commitment. Go ahead.
Back to the game. Crystal Palace is still a tough one. Still have to come through that. So let's not celebrate. As Klopp said, it was the semi-final. We got a very good result in the semi-final, but still a final to go.
Yes.
We have to come through that. But it's looking very good, and it'll be great to end the season on a high and go into that pre-season, get all our players fit and rejuvenated, and go again next season with hopefully a strengthened squad as well.
Yeah, and now that I'm reminded of what I have to do if we come through in the final against Crystal Palace, I'm almost a little more. I don't know. I wouldn't complain about a draw. I'm just kidding. This was a huge win because it pulls us level on goals scored with Leicester City, and with 4 less conceded, we have a 4 better goal difference than them. So if we win, and I mean, assuming Tottenham show up to play Leicester, then they shouldn't. Crazy things have happened. This is Leicester City, a side who have won the Premier League at 5,000 to 1 odds. I think that we are. If we win, we're in. It's almost as simple as that.
Yeah, it does feel like it. And let's be honest, Tottenham still have a bit of a bit riding on that game. I know West Ham got the win, so they're 3 points above them. But let's be honest, they might be trying to avoid that Europa League Conference League, and they might want to be in Europe next season, so they will have some stake in that game. So they will try to win. I don't know if that's any encouragement for us Liverpool fans, because Tottenham have been woeful this season, especially in the big games. But let's wait and see. I think the most important thing is I do feel like it's in our hands, and like you say, it does feel like if we get the job done, if we get that win on the final day, then we're in.
Yeah. Reece Williams, talk a bit about the other center back. Off, I think, is a bit harsh. He was shaky. He was young. I know Barnaby says Klopp out a lot, so I don't take your opinions 100% seriously. But a bit about Reece Williams from you, Ben. I thought he was like a 6 out of 10. It was
I think he had good moments as well. He still looks on the ball. He's kind of a bit nervous at times. He likes to pass back. It was a lot of passing to Van Dijk and Robertson. But he actually looks better on the ball than Phillips sometimes, I feel like once he gains that confidence and he really settles into adult football and this level, I think there's potential there for a good defender, really. I'm not really concerned about him in the future. I'm kind of concerned about him maybe for Crystal Palace, but I don't think he's one that is going to be a first-team player next season.
Is there any chance of Kabak playing the last match against Crystal Palace?
I believe no. I think he's out. The only person who has a slight chance, is Diego Jota, which even if he's on the bench and we need him for the last half an hour because we need a goal, that would be, or even last 15 minutes, that would be a huge bonus, even if we can just make the bench.
I've liked Kabak a lot, and I think he's been a player who he's playing with one of his idols in the game, Van Dijk. Hasn't got to play with him yet. I would love to see us sign him, and if it's the case, if injury rules out a chance for him to actually play in front of a crowd at Anfield, that'd be quite a shame, honestly.
I do feel like with Kabak, it's a bit of a sentimental one with the fans. Obviously, from a sentimental perspective, I would love him to play at Liverpool and just have a proper go at it with a proper defender next to him. But at the same time, because we have someone like Nat Phillips who can cover that fourth choice, and if we do have Konate coming in, then I don't really see a reason for signing him, especially in the current financial market where we should probably strengthen and replace Gini Wijnaldum first. I believe that would be our top priority if the Konate deal is sorted, because we do need a centre back. And then I would love us to get a striker as well, a number 9.
There's a lot of different needs we really want to fill, but it's a case of, man, we just have far less money than we need to in order to make things happen. I on this match a bit more, I thought the Firmino goal was so vital. He's scored some big goals this season. The winner against Spurs, the 2 against United, the 1 today. I'm probably forgetting 1 or 2 others. He hasn't scored a ton, but he scored some pretty important goals. And it's almost a case of when Firmino scores, then we're really succeeding, because he's able to kind of even when he's on a poor day finishing-wise, he's able to create. He's able to make space for his teammates. When he scores, it's almost like an added bonus, like you're playing with house money. So that goal, I think, was huge. And I think this is kind of spot on. It felt like we were not in control, but we were in a better place after that Firmino goal.
Absolutely. And I think Firmino is someone who's really stepped up in these final few weeks. I mean, there's been a lot of characters who've stepped up. Thiago as well. Phillips has matured into that role. But I've been really impressed with Firmino. He's actually beating players when he's on the ball. He's finding good passes. It's not just the goals, and because obviously he scored a couple against United. It's not just the goals, but his all-round play has been impressive.
I believe I have a guest appearance from one Chris Stonage. Chris.
Yo, I'm out. Get in, boys. Enjoy the stream. Come on.
Thanks, Chris. Actually, Chris predicted a 3-0 victory, but I forgot to play the video before the match.
I saw loads of people predict Nat Phillips scoring as well.
You know,
On social
I feel
media.
like a lot of people
Credit
just
to them.
Nat Phillips will score. Bless you.
Thank you.
Nice. I guess cough button, sneeze button. Hold on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, man of the match. Then we'll go into a bigger discussion because we're almost allowed to dream a bit bigger. Think of me running through the streets naked when we get top 4. Your man of the match. You mentioned Phillips earlier. You're sticking with Phillips.
Yeah, I'm sticking with Phillips. I thought he was tremendous with his headers, in our box, and then that header at the end in their end. So yeah, he has to be him.
Yeah, I think he didn't start tremendously, but he showed up at the goal, which really put us in a comfortable spot. He cleared it off the line to make sure it wasn't shaky. And I mean, I thought he did pretty well. I think Mane had one of his better performances. He was getting attacked a lot. He created a few chances. He's obviously still struggling.
Yeah, he does feel like he's a bit short on confidence, but I think he will be encouraged by Firmino. Maybe a few months ago, people were kind of picking on Firmino, and when we had discussions about who we're going to sell out of the front three, people's favourites were Firmino. Now it's Mane, but I don't know. I think form is temporary and class is permanent, and I wouldn't give up on Mane just yet.
Neither would I. I mean, if we need to sell Mane to get a Sancho and Mbappe, those are really big dreams. But
I mean, then it would be a moral question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's have that question. Mane out to get Sancho.
If we're keeping Salah as well, then yeah, it's a no-brainer. But also, I wouldn't give up on Mane wherever he would go. Potentially, I think he would have a very successful career, and it would kind of hurt.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you're getting someone like Sancho, who I believe is the next big thing, he's up there with Mbappe and Haaland. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't complain.
They want £73 million for Sancho. And the idea of playing Salah through the middle, Sancho on the right, and Mane on the left, I hold hope on that because I think that could be really, really good. I think that would get more out of Salah. We could drop Bobby in as a 10. We could have just more options.
But then again, we have Jota, so why not just stick with Jota in the middle? And
that's true.
Sancho is someone who can play on the left and who can play on the right, so that's a big bonus.
So let's top 4. Let's talk about the chances of that happening, and then we'll talk about kind of like a look ahead at what this team needs to change. So last match of the season against Crystal Palace, there will be fans at Anfield, which is going to be, I think, a huge, huge deal. How confident are you of getting top 4 right now?
Fairly confident, I would say. It's always better when it's in your hands, and it feels like it's in our hands. The big bonus of the fans. The only thing that I'm kind of freaked out about is a Roy Hodgson masterclass on his final game.
That would be the worst. That would be the worst thing ever.
That will be in my nightmares for the next few days for sure, leading up to the weekend. But other than that, I mean, Crystal Palace, they just got beaten by Arsenal. They're missing Eberechi Eze as well, who's been a main focal point of their attack. There's obviously Benteke as well, another former Liverpool player though, who's in hot form at the moment. But defensively, they do leave gaps, and we proved that earlier in the season when we won 7-0. So if you have a similar performance,
we beat them 7-0. Think about
that. If you have a similar performance, look, this Liverpool team is good enough, I think, to beat any team in the Premier League. And if we turn up and we have a good performance, then we have every chance. My only slight worry is Benteke and Phillips and Reece Williams, because even though Chris Wood is a very physical player and very good at what he does, Benteke is different gravy now.
He definitely is a man in form. I'm happy to see Benteke thriving again. I really liked him. He wasn't a good
Yeah,
fit for
same,
Liverpool, but I,
same.
mean, I liked him. But hope that he doesn't show up at Anfield on is it Saturday or Sunday? I forget.
Sunday.
Sunday.
It is. Saturday's my birthday, so
Oh yes, I forgot that was a birthday gift for you.
yeah.
So a must win basically. You win, you're in the Champions League. I want to briefly touch on this. If Chelsea drop points to Villa away, they could finish fifth if Leicester and we win. Would Tuchel be under pressure if this scenario happened?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the worst case scenario for Chelsea at the moment because the last thing you want, I mean, you'll have pressure on a final anyway. And if they do get to four, I'd say there's not that much pressure on Tuchel to win that final because City are the favourites, so they could go in there as underdogs.
Mm-hmm.
But if they go in there fifth, the amount of pressure on them to win that final, and even on Tuchel, I mean, that would be huge. So, yeah, I mean, they'll be keeping their fingers crossed. I mean, Aston Villa is a difficult match, and I think it'll be away as well, right?
It is away,
So,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
with fans, that'll be difficult.
fans haven't seen this really talented Villa side in a long time, and they're a very good side this year. Honestly, I mean, 11th is probably a fair finish for them, but they are good. They beat us 7-2. We know how good Jack Grealish and some of their players are.
I think the ironic thing is that like Chelsea played some good football. They've had some really good games.
Did you see how good they were with the
by and
fans
large.
yesterday? They were really good yesterday.
Yeah, they were really, and against Man City as well when they beat them.
Mhm.
They're a good team, and it would be really harsh on Tuchel and Chelsea to not get the top four.
Yeah. But going into the final weekend of the season, we have the easiest fixture at home to Palace. Leicester have, I believe, home against Spurs. Chelsea visit Villa. Those are two tough matches for them. There's a very realistic chance that one of them drops points. And if we win, one of them drop points, we make the top four. And I'm unsure if fourth is in the qualifying stages. I believe it.
No, every single team qualifies automatically, so we'll be in the group stages. Yeah. In terms of our coefficients, I'm not sure what ranking will be. What seeds? We might still be top seeds, although I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, the pressure's on Leicester now.
Yeah.
We've had the pressure on ourselves these past few weeks. I mean, the pressure's still on us. It's a final, but we don't have to look over our shoulders anymore. We don't have to look at their results. It's all on us to deliver. And Leicester, it can be similar. I can imagine a similar scenario for them. You know, Rodgers will certainly be thinking about that Crystal Palace game for Liverpool when Liverpool were in a similar situation where they wanted to win on goal difference. And Rodgers obviously already pushed Liverpool forward that game, which allowed Crystal Palace to get back into it. And I mean, that was probably one of the games that we lost the Premier League title in that season. Obviously, Rodgers will have learned a lot from that, so it'll be interesting to see how he manages that game. I won't be watching, obviously, none of us will, because we'll be keeping our eyes on Liverpool. But it'll be interesting to see how much he's learned from that experience.
Those kinds of discussions. Rodgers, his comparison, if he finishes fifth 2 years in a row after sitting in the top four for many, many weeks of the season, and Chelsea if they were to throw it away. But all we have to do is win this final match of the season. I want to talk a bit about what this team needs to change. I think watching this match just echoed the need for center backs, man. I mean, Van Dijk being back next season is going to be huge. Having someone next to him who is, I think, pacey and better on the ball is just going to transform this team because we're less shaky when there's some balls over the top and we're able to distribute the ball better as a full-on team.
Absolutely. I think someone like Konate is a really good fit, even though there are some injury concerns. But I believe even if we don't get Konate, I would probably looking at someone other than Kabak to come into that centre-back role, because I feel like there will be better defenders on the market, and I could see us targeting someone else. but absolutely, a centre back is a number one priority without a question. And then the next role is replacing Gini Wijnaldum, because he's going to be leaving, and we'll definitely need another midfielder in there. But it's encouraging to see Chamberlain scoring a goal and coming on, and obviously Curtis Jones was brilliant at some points during the season, and he'll be back as well.
So in our very first video on the YouTube channel, I said my favorite player right now is Naby Keita. So it hurts me to say this, but I think that Naby Keita is probably going to be the man who is sacrificed to raise some funds, because he's one of our biggest assets. Like, he could get 30 plus million pounds easily,
Yeah.
I think, because he has such talent. It's just, I think we may need the money, and he may just be a sacrifice, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think that goal from Chamberlain, plus his versatility to play on the front line, he came on for Firmino. He could play in the midfield too. I just think he's got a future here.
You know, everyone talks about Michael Edwards, but this is when he's really going to get the chance to play his magic, because it's a tough market. He's going to be needing to offload players. We're probably one of the teams that not a lot of teams want to buy from, with like Ryan Brewster and Solanke and all that sort of past experiences. I think we got quite a few pounds for Brad Smith as well, and he's playing for Seattle Sounders at the moment. Even Kevin Stewart, who's not even playing football at the moment, we got 7 million for him, which is the same price for Robertson, so we essentially got a swap deal. But yeah, this will be the time to really, shine for Edwards, trying to offload the likes of Origi, probably Keita. I can't really imagine, I guess if we are going to be in the market for Sancho, even though I will say it was interesting when Klopp said we won't be buying anyone like a Sancho in one of his press conferences.
Such a crazy response. It was like that guy specifically that he said.
Yeah, interesting name drop. But if we do decide to go that direction, and we are trying to offload someone like a Mane, you want to get the best deal possible, and Michael Edwards is that man.
I think this is a great comment from Jesse. How do you give guys like this Keita such value, like 30 million pounds plus, close to what we paid for him, which is what, 55 million pounds, somewhere around there. A lot of money for Keita.
I think it's the age, obviously. I believe he's 25, so he's in his prime.
Mm-hmm.
Then on top of that, you have, he was the best midfielder in the Bundesliga a couple of seasons ago. Let's not forget about that. So that will still cost you money.
Yeah, I mean, it's a case of at Liverpool, he's not guaranteed to start week in, week out. And at Crystal Palace, or a club that has a lot of rumors with him, it kind of hurts seeing him play at Crystal Palace, because it's like he has such talent. And not that Crystal Palace is a talentless club, but I don't know. I want to see his flair. I don't know, somewhere else. I don't dislike Palace intently, but it's like somewhere where he would be one of your better players. He could really, like at Leipzig when he was there, he really could change your team. Versus Liverpool, he doesn't push the needle as much. So it's a case of, for us, his value is low, but for someone else, his value is quite high. Like for Crystal Palace, he'd be one of their better players, if not their best player. And so he'd have a lot of value in that instance. Ruben Neves for Keita. Ruben Neves is a tough one for me, because when he signed for Wolves a few years back, he was like a really hot youngster. He's still very good. I just think that's a tough one, because he's such a different type of player, He's more defensive. He'd probably be a backup for Fabinho.
If anything, his compatriot Renato Sanchez, who had a difficult spell at Swansea, but if anyone's been watching him for Lille, I think he would be a better option, more like for Keita. He's been brilliant at Lille. He could win probably the French league title this season.
Yeah, I think Minamino is another really interesting one. I think it's a case of, if we get a bid that's good enough, I think every player, literally every player except for maybe Van Dijk, Henderson, Fabinho, Alisson, and then the fullbacks, obviously. If we get a good bid for them, I think they're not replaceable, but they're if we get enough money,
Yeah.
we can replace them. I think it's very
We
few.
also have a few loan assets as well that we can sell on who have value. So Harry Wilson is one who caught good numbers in the championship, and he's British, which will always increase his price. Yeah, we can sell on Minamino, Taivo Avani.
Would you have him in the squad next year? He's finally got a permit.
It's an interesting question. I spoke to his representatives about his move to Liverpool and all that, and for me, because of that, I do have a special connection to the player. He does seem someone like someone who's really motivated to play for Liverpool. And Liverpool, when they initially signed him, they had a 5-year plan where they set him like, you're gonna go on loan to Belgium first, then you're gonna go on loan to the Bundesliga or the Championship or England, and then you'll play for Liverpool in 5 years' time. They had this plan set up for him when he came to Liverpool. Obviously, that plan probably got delayed by coronavirus and work permit issues. It got pushed back a year, but it's coming to the end of that 5-year plan, and he had a solid season in the Bundesliga. The goals are not as great, but that's because he missed half of the second half of the season, really, pretty much most of it due to injury. I do feel like he's someone he's a good presser. He gives an aerial threat as well going forward. But at the same time, he does feel disposable, and he does feel like someone we can cash in on, especially now that he has the work permit, and especially because he had an impressive spell in the Bundesliga, and that will give him a lot of value.
Yeah, I mean, he's 23, and I also, it almost feels like I don't want to hand out a place in the squad to him if he doesn't deserve any of it, but he's been working for so many years to try and get to this point. I mean, you look at his transfer history. So he joins Liverpool, goes on loan to Frankfurt, goes on loan to Nijmegen, and I don't even know what that is. Is that it?
I think as well, Klopp is a big admirer of him. When I was speaking to his representatives, it was actually Klopp who organized his loan spell to Mainz last season, and then he's very much kind of nudged him in the direction of returning to the Bundesliga this season as well. So he's clearly an admirer. He does keep it. They tell me that Liverpool representatives keep in touch with him constantly. They're getting text messages all the time from them. And like I said, he's a motivated hard worker, which probably can't say about Origi this season. So if we're going for a like-for-like replacement for Origi, I'd give Avani a chance. But I do feel like I would like to see someone with a better goal record come in and really give us another edge in that number 9 position.
Yeah, I mean, it's so many different players. I mean, we talk about Keita, we talk about Minamino, we talk about Harvey Elliott. I mean, obviously, they're in Origi, Shaqiri. The next few weeks, when we're doing a lot of live streams, a lot of videos on these players, keep, loan, sell. What should their futures be next season? So make sure to get involved in those. Those will be on the LC transfer, so make sure to subscribe for those. It's going to be an interesting summer. And I want to hit on one thing before we kind of wrap this up. Harry Kane would be my favorite target because he could replace Firmino and just be brilliant. He could link up the play with Salah and Mane. He could finish chances at an elite level. It's never happening. Like, it's just never going to ever happen. But he would be a phenomenal player.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a few favorites that I think are a bit more realistic than Harry Kane, but if that happens, I certainly wouldn't complain. That would be amazing, just to have him in his prime for a few seasons. Very unlike Liverpool to make that move. I think if we get top 4, it's exciting times. I don't want to jinx it for the transfer window, but it definitely opens our options more, and it's kind of more proof of the fact that even Liverpool, with a team full of injuries and unfortunate incidents throughout the year, can still get top four. I mean, there's a reason why Klopp said getting top four this season is his biggest achievement, because it will be. I'd argue it would be.
Yeah, I agree.
Just because of this, how unfortunate this whole season has been, and yeah, it would be a massive proof of our status on the world scene. That we're still elite. We can win games with Reece Williams and Nat Phillips at the back.
That's still a crazy thought to think about. Football is going to seem so easy next year when we have Van Dijk. When we have Jordan.
Let's not jinx it, though. That's not.
We did lose 7-2 to Aston Villa. We had Adrian in net, yes, but Van Dijk was there. So
yeah,
it's just going to be such a transformative time when we get some of these players back. I mean, it's hard to wrap your head around how many players are missing. Jota, Henderson, Keita, Kabak, Van Dijk, Gomez, Matip. It's just stunning how many players are not able.
I think what this season has proved, and what it's been a good learning curve for some of our academy, because we've seen, as well as we've seen the bad and the good at times from academy players, but we've had Kelleher come in, who's probably, I would say, above Adrian in the pecking order, and he's someone who I think would be a solid option as a number 2 next season. Well, obviously Nat Phillips has been the major winner of this whole season in terms of academy players coming through. But yeah, Reece Williams as well, and Neco Williams, both of them have shown at times that they can step in if it's necessary and if it's required.
Wrapping up the stream, is Allardyce gone? Like, did he leave West Brom? This Black Hammer comment. I'm not sure. Anyways, we'll move on.
I guess we'll find out when we log off.
So, such a huge win. The last thing I'll ask you is, going into this Crystal Palace game, how big a difference does it make for the players we want to keep, the players we want to sign, our goals for next season? How big a difference is Europa League versus Champions League?
It's massive. There's a reason why Klopp called this a final, because everything hinges on it. Obviously, we don't want to be putting too much pressure on the players, but it's huge. If we get top 4, I mean, that changes the game for us. And I did see the Ilicic tattoo, but I think he's a bit old for Liverpool now.
It'd be an interesting signing, It would be like if it makes sense financially. We can't be beggars,
Yeah, I know, but he's well over 30, and I've watched him a few times in the Serie A this season, and he looks a bit immobile, a bit slow.
He's 33.
Yeah, not really the type of signing who I think would fit in well at Liverpool, because he's just a bit off the pace now. I love the player and I love the man, and he's a great person who's had a lot of difficulties as well this season, if the rumours are to be believed. It's great to see that he's a fellow Liverpool fan as well. There's been a few sort of Liverpool fans as players who've come out this season, with Sasha Kalajdzic at Stuttgart, also a big Liverpool fan. Check out his Instagram post at Anfield. He's crazy, and he's got over 15 goals now in the Bundesliga. And obviously Patson Daka as well, major Liverpool fan.
Fun stream, Ben. It's always it's nicer after a win, and it's, yes, I will worry about the fact that if I'm a man of my word, I have to run through the streets of my city naked. But I'll be happy that we're in the Champions League next year. I'll be happy because I have a lot of classes scheduled for the fall on Thursdays. I go to like 4 p.m. here in the States, which is about an hour into like when the game starts. I won't be able to watch Thursday night games. So I've been planning for non-Thursday night matches anyways.
Well, fingers crossed. And like Black Hammer says, I think it would determine whether Salah stays or not as well.
Such a huge match.
We really need him firing again. I think he's going to be on one in that game, because, well, I don't know, do we want Salah to be top goal scorer, or do we want Harry Kane to absolutely go full throttle against Leicester and score a hat-trick, beat Salah to the top goal scorer award, but we get top 4?
Could it be Son? Could it please be Heung-min Son who scores the goals for Spurs? Just both.
I mean, I'd take Kane all day long.
Yeah, I mean, I if we get top 4, Salah doesn't get the top 4 crown. He even said he would give up, I think, all of his golden boots to get top 4 this year. I mean,
Yeah.
if he had to spiritually give it up for Harry Kane to just go crazy.
He didn't score today, but he was on another level. Like his energy running back. A couple of times maybe he was too far back because he was making a few mistakes, but even when he made a mistake, he was the last man back chasing it down. It was great to see because we haven't really seen that of Salah this season. That's why Trent has been vulnerable at times at the back. And another Thiago is settling into that defensive role as well, which was great to see, and covering for Trent at times. So he's really kind of kicking into gear and getting used to the Liverpool system, which is, I can't wait until next season to see that.
He was great when we had Van Dijk in that Chelsea match. He's going to be great with a year in the system, a full preseason, and then fans back in Anfield. He is going to be tremendous next year. I'm so excited to see that happen. So one match left. It's the final. It's the top 4 qualifying final. And you know what? It will get bantered. Oh, you're celebrating top 4 like Arsene Wenger always got bantered. But look, the injuries we've had this year, I remember a few months back when we were in the heat of those 6 home losses in a row. I said if we got top 4, this would be like damn near a 10 out of 10 season because of how bad it was, how deep the lows were. And I think I stand by that. If we get top 4, this is a 9 out of 10 season, considering no fans, just the emotional undertone of the team and the injuries.
And where we've come from, because let's not forget, a couple of weeks ago we were 7th, and now we're in the top 4. So to come back from that, it's almost Barcelona-esque in a way.
But it's a much more grand effort because of how deep
we just need to get that final goal in.
Exactly. A lot of content in the next couple of weeks. There will be a pre-match, post-match stream for the Crystal Palace game. And after that match, season's over, we will be kicking the content into gear. So make sure to subscribe to LFC Transfer Room on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. You can follow myself. Right there. You can follow Ben, like right there. Ben doing great content as always. I'm an American. I do decent content. Follow us if you want to. One last game, and then end of 2020, 2021, and hopefully fans back almost in full for next season. So, Ben, light at the end of the tunnel. Last thoughts on this match going forward?
I mean, just brilliant. There's nothing else to say. We're great. Perfect result. And, let's hope same again against Crystal Palace.
Indeed. A win, and we're almost certainly into the Champions League. That'll do it for today's live stream. Thank you very much for tuning in. For myself, Jack, and for Ben.